Kaizen foam is all the rage in the lean community. You see it go by other names like shadow foam, toolbox foam, 5S foam. I've been using it for a few weeks in my home garage. It's not even really much of a workshop, just a garage. And I wanted to do a review on what I thought about it and how well it's working for me. So the first thing I'll say is, well, I have been using it quite a bit the past few weeks, but it's also still somewhat of a work in progress. So I'll show you kind of where I'm at and all of the things I've kind of run into in the process of using it. So my home garage tool set consists of this triple-decker toolbox and this Milwaukee pack-out tool bag. This is designed to carry the tools that I will need 80% of the time. Sorry, the lighting's no good. So think 80-20 principle. I got 80% of what I need in this portable pack-out bag, and it may not look like it, but there is a specific spot and a specific pocket for each tool. So this is a major upgrade from what I'd been using before, but basically 80%, and then here's just extra miscellaneous 20%. I scored this sweet triple-decker toolbox for like 120 bucks very recently, so that's when I got the Kaizen foam and began that journey. So the labels don't look real neat. That's because I just used what I had, and it's a work in progress, so sometimes I'm moving tools around. The first thing I did was just kind of organize all the like tools that I want in the same drawer. Okay, and then I used it for a week or two. I've been working on a lot of projects lately. You need to make sure you have a permanent location for every tool before you begin foaming. And the best way to do that is to just use it. You want your highest used items to be most accessible. So somewhere in the middle, maybe, you know, for your ratchets and screwdrivers and things that you use most commonly. I have this upper shelf here, but my eyeballs only reach about this high, so I don't even really want to put much up here, you know, so think about things like that. I'm not going to be putting little stuff up here because I can't see up there. And then stuff I don't use much, I'm going to put down here so I'm not constantly bending over. That's just ergonomics, process, you know, efficiency and such. So my grinder and stuff I don't use much is down there. It's a bigger drawer anyway. And then I've got all my more commonly used goods here about eye level or thereabouts. So the other thing is not everything needs foam, and I don't want foam for everything. For instance, I got this drawer here where I've got files, chisels, picks, and razors. And what I did was I took an old gutter, and well, it was kind of a brittle plastic old gutter, so it kind of broke apart when I cut it, but I just made little channels with that. And I like that a lot better than the foam for my files, because this would have just taken up a lot of space. One of the downsides of the foam is it does, quote, waste space, but I'm going to cover that a little bit later on how it's not always a waste. But in this case, this was just a much better solution. Here again, I decided not to use the foam because one of the downsides of the foam is it does limit your flexibility. You know, wheeling this whole toolbox to the job isn't always practical. Sometimes I don't know the size. I'm just going to take the whole thing. There's still a specific location for everything in this case, so I decided to just leave the case and not put every wrench in its own position because I wanted to maintain the flexibility. So again, flexibility is limited by Kaizen foam. Another example of how it limits your flexibility, you know, if my utility knife breaks, I might not have the exact same utility knife as a backup, or I might go buy one and forget that I need this specific one. So if I cut this into the foam to fit this tool and this tool breaks, what are you going to do then? You're just going to have a kind of a really awkward, big, wasted spot in your foam. So again, you got to be meticulous about thinking about what actually needs foam. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Kaizen foam, and this is one of the things I was skeptical of when I first was looking at it. I thought, well, it sure does waste a lot of space, right? I mean, look at all the space it wastes. If all this stuff were loose in here, I could cram it over into this corner and fit a lot more stuff in here. But again, the wasted space is wasted on this kind of stuff. That's why I didn't do it here. But it actually creates value because like here I have this kind of miscellaneous work in progress stuff. Instead of just, I can't even put that in this drawer if I wanted to because there's literally no room for that clutter. The other benefit of that quote wasted space is again just the fact that you have identified a precise location for each tool. That's going to prevent you from accumulating more tools than you need. As I'm going through this, I had an extra ratchet and I realized, okay, I don't need that ratchet, so I just got rid of it. I've got this one, I've got this one, and maybe in a back inventory room you can have spare tools that are out of the way of your daily working tools. So again, it prevents excess tool accumulation. The other thing it does is prevent it prevents tool loss or migration. Let's take this screwdriver, for example. I'm using this thing all the time, and I have a couple of them that look just like it. I've got one in here, and I've got one in here. When I'm taking it, using it, I set it somewhere, and then at the end of my day, I go to put it away. And, I'll just be tempted to just throw it in there with that one. But because I already have this location here, I immediately know that this is not where it goes. Even if I'm going about this absent-mindedly, I go, oh, okay, wrong one. And I know that it belongs in here. So, those kinds of things multiplied by 100 are so important because I put that in here. Next time I go to use my toolbox, if I didn't know that this was missing, because all this stuff is scattered in here, right? If I didn't know this was missing, it would be a goose chase. And of course, it's those little things, it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's not one big thing that usually ruins your day. It's a 1,000 tiny things. Now, I had this socket set here that was part of a toolkit, and I like the fact that it had all the dimensions right on there. So what I did was I just took a hacksaw and basically cut out that section of my toolbox and put it here amongst the foam. I figured it was more valuable to have the numbers than to, not have the numbers. So I made that work, and it worked out real well. Tools like this, little adapter pieces that are always just rolling around in some toolbox with 10,000 other things, I cannot overstate how freaking nice it is to know exactly where this piece is or exactly where my socket adapters are. And this is just me in my garage, but multiply that times 10 or 20 people in a larger organization who are all trained to know exactly where the exact same thing is. It just creates so much efficiency. One of the other concerns I had coming into Kaizen foam, actually it wasn't a concern until I received it in the mail. I received all this foam in the mail, and then I thought, oh crap, this is gonna take me all damn day to cut out these, spots. And I thought, oh God, this is just gonna be such a waste of time and so time consuming. Well, it actually isn't as difficult as I thought, and it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be when I got it in the mail. So I think the time you invest up front in the foam, the money in the foam and the time cutting out the foam is worth the savings. Side note about the Kaizen foam. When you're looking for Kaizen foam, find stuff that has as many layers as possible. This is 1 inch wide, and it has a layer at a 1/2 inch, so it's really only 2 layers put together. Other Kaizen foams have every 1/4 inch or every 1/8 inch layers, and those more layers are going to make it easier and neater looking when you start peeling away the foam, and you're just going to have a nicer, better fitting contour. Another interesting use I came up with for the Kaizen foam was I had these Allen wrenches just in a loose bag. You know how you buy them in a bag, those little tough case bags or whatever, and then they're just all rattling around, and you got to hunt and figure out which size you need and what size it is. Well, I just took a piece of the scrap foam, and you can see now I have a convenient carrying case with the sizes identified and also you know, I know immediately if one is missing. So here's one I had before. Obviously, it's the same concept. This is a little bit nicer looking. And now that I have, you know, I've got 2 metric sets here, I could probably get rid of one. One other use that I actually really like a lot is having this piece of Kaizen foam here on our couch in our living room. There's a nice spot for each remote. The remote always stays in the same place. I got a pen and pencil, which are missing. Anyway, and then I got this squirt bottle. You're probably wondering why. Well, that's so I can squirt my cat when he does something stupid, because they're always doing something stupid. But I really like having this. Now I gotta find that damn pen. All in all, I really love the Kaizen foam. I think it's worth the price. I ended up buying way more than I needed. But again, I'm still kind of figuring it out too and still using it. All in all, I think it's great. It's, like I said earlier, it's always death by 1,000 cuts. I mean, your workday isn't inefficient because of one thing probably. It's probably inefficient because of 1,000 little things. So anyway, hope that helped. Leave your comments, advice, experience in the comments below. I appreciate it. Thanks.